My wife cheated on me with our neighbor, then secretly forged my signature to transfer $250, $0 of our joint savings into her name, and now she's claiming I have no rights to the house. And her lawyer just told me she's planning to file for full custody and I'm financially ruined. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. My wife, Jessica, was supposed to be my partner, the person I trusted with everything. We had a good life, decent jobs, a nice house, 2 kids. But all that changed in a matter of weeks when I found out she was cheating on me with our neighbor, Mike. It started with little things, late nights, secret texts, unexplained absences. I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe she was just stressed or having a midlife crisis. But then I noticed the little things that didn't add up. Her phone would be locked more often, and she'd get defensive when I asked about her whereabouts. I also saw her changing her routines, going out more without telling me. One afternoon, I was home early from work, something I rarely did, and I decided to check her phone just to see if there was anything suspicious. I never really snooped before, but something told me to look closer. That's when I saw the messages. They weren't just friendly flirting, they were explicit. She was talking about wanting to meet Mike, saying she missed the way he made her feel. Honestly, I felt like the ground was shifting beneath me. My stomach dropped and my head spun. I stared at the screen, trying to process what I was reading. It was like a punch in the gut. I couldn't believe she'd do this to us. I didn't even know how to react at first. Part of me wanted to confront her right then, but I knew I needed to gather more evidence. I started paying closer attention, checking her social media, her calls, her schedule. She was sneaky, but I caught her in a lie a few days later. She told me she was working late, but I saw her coming out of Mike's house late at night. That was the moment I knew for sure she was cheating. I felt betrayed, furious, and honestly devastated. How could she lie to my face, pretend everything was fine, when she was out there screwing someone else? The hardest part was that she kept lying even when I confronted her. I asked her outright, and she spun some bullshit about how I was paranoid, that I was imagining things. She called me insecure, said I was overreacting because I was stressed or busy, but I knew better. It wasn't just about the sex with Mike. It was the fact that she'd been lying to me for months, hiding her betrayal like it was some kind of secret trophy. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach every time I looked at her after that. The trust was shattered. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My mind kept racing through all the things I missed, all the signs I ignored. Then things got even worse. I found out she'd secretly forged my signature on some documents. She transferred $250, $0 of our joint savings into her name. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I went to the bank and they confirmed it. She'd manipulated the legal paperwork while I was clueless, thinking everything was normal. That's when I realized she wasn't just cheating on me. She was actively trying to take everything from me. Our house, our money, everything we built together. She's now claiming I have no rights to the house, even though I helped pay for it. Her lawyer told me she's planning to file for full custody of the kids and that I'm essentially broke, ruined financially because of her sneaky moves. Honestly, I feel like I've been hit by a freight train. I don't know how to even process what's happening. I thought I knew her, thought I knew us. Turns out I was living with a stranger all along. I'm angry, hurt, and I don't even know where to go from here. All I know is I need to figure out what's next, because right now, I feel like I'm holding onto the edge of a cliff, and I don't know if I'll fall or if I can pull myself back up. After discovering all of this, I felt like I was in some kind of nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The betrayal cut deep, but what stung even more was the realization that she had been manipulating everything behind my back, faking her love, lying about her whereabouts, and secretly draining our savings. I had trusted her with everything, and she took that trust and shattered it into a million pieces. The worst part was knowing she was planning to do even more damage, fighting me for custody of our kids and trying to strip me of any rights to the house we had worked so hard for. I remember sitting in the living room, staring at the walls, feeling the weight of everything crashing down on me. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of it all. I felt this intense mixture of anger and helplessness. How could she lie to my face? How could she pretend to be the loving wife and mother while secretly screwing our neighbor and stealing from us? I kept asking myself if I had missed the signs, if I had somehow failed her, or if she was just a different person all along. The first thing I did after I found out was to confront her. I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I told her I knew about her affair, her lies, and her theft. Her reaction was typical. She played innocent, told me I was overreacting, that I was paranoid and jealous. She said Mike was just a friend, and the money transfer was some kind of mistake, that I was imagining things. She even had the audacity to call me insecure, saying I didn't trust her. I saw her eyes flicker with guilt, but she masked it with her bitchy attitude, trying to make me doubt myself. I lost it. I yelled at her, told her I knew everything. The affair, the forged signatures, the money. She looked at me with that fake, innocent face and started lying even more. Said she was just stressed, that Mike was just a friend, that I was imagining things because I was insecure. She claimed I was paranoid and that I should trust her. But I knew better. I knew she was lying because I had the evidence. The messages, the bank statements, the forged documents, all of it was real. I felt so betrayed that my chest hurt, and I wanted to scream at her for being so manipulative, so dishonest. The emotional toll was brutal. I went from feeling numb to furious, then to deeply sad. I kept thinking about the life we had built, the family I thought we were, and how she had thrown it all away for some cheap sex with Mike. I remember crying that night, alone on the couch, feeling like I'd lost everything that mattered. The betrayal wasn't just about her cheating. It was about her stealing our money, lying to my face, and trying to take the kids away from me. How could she do that? How could she be so cold? I felt like I was drowning in a sea of anger, sadness, and confusion. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just sit there and let her destroy everything. But what? I had no idea where to start. I was a wreck emotionally, but I also knew I had to fight back. I started looking into what rights I had, what legal options were available. I contacted a lawyer, but the news wasn't good. She was planning to file for full custody, and with her lawyer telling her she could take the house and the money, I felt like I was losing everything. My home, my kids, my money, my dignity. It was a crushing blow. I'd worked so hard for all of it, and now I was about to lose it all because she was a manipulative bitch who didn't care about anyone but herself. The worst part was feeling so powerless. She had all these lies ready, all these plans to keep me out of the picture, and I was just trying to hold on to whatever shred of dignity I had left. I wanted to believe I could fix this, that somehow we could work it out, but deep down, I knew the trust was gone. The betrayal was too deep, and I was starting to see that maybe this wasn't something I could fix with words or pleading. I was starting to understand that I needed to prepare myself for a fight, one that would decide everything. And honestly, I didn't know if I had the strength to win. The days that followed were a blur of legal meetings, sleepless nights, and trying to keep everything together for the sake of my kids. I felt like I was in some kind of war I didn't sign up for, and every move I made seemed to be met with more lies and manipulation from Jessica. She was relentless, lying to the lawyers, pretending to be the perfect mother, all the while plotting how to keep the house and the money. Her attitude was so bitchy, so dismissive, like I was nothing more than an obstacle in her path. And honestly, I was starting to see her for what she really was. A selfish, manipulative woman who would do anything to get what she wanted. I remember the day I found out she'd forged my signature. I was reviewing some bank statements, trying to get a handle on the financial mess she'd created when I saw the transfer. My blood ran cold. She transferred $250, $0 of our joint savings into her name, without my knowledge, without my consent. It was a calculated move, and I felt like I'd been hit again, this time with a sledgehammer. I immediately called the bank and they confirmed it. I was furious. How could she do this? How could she think she could get away with stealing that kind of money? That was our safety net, our future, and she was just taking it like it was nothing. I confronted her about it, expecting some kind of apology or explanation. Instead, she looked at me with that snarky smirk and lied again. Said she needed the money because she was worried about the bills and that she'd planned to pay me back. I didn't buy it. I knew she was lying, she always lied. But what hurt most was feeling so betrayed, so powerless. I wanted to punch her, to scream at her for being so ruthless. I told her I was going to get a lawyer and fight her for the house, for the money, for my kids. She just rolled her eyes and said I was overreacting, that I was paranoid. She always had a way of making me doubt myself, twisting everything around to make me feel like I was the crazy one. Meanwhile, she was telling everyone she was the victim, that I was some jealous, insecure husband who didn't understand her. She played the victim so well, crying fake tears, acting like she was the one suffering. But I knew the truth. I knew she was the one who betrayed me, who lied and stole and manipulated. That realization made me feel sick. I've been blind for so long, trusting her blindly, and now I was paying the price. Her lawyer was already pushing to get full custody of the kids. I couldn't believe it. She was trying to turn everything against me, saying I was an unfit father, that I was unstable. They even tried to use the forged documents as leverage, saying I was incapable of managing the household or caring for our children. I felt like my world was crumbling. I was so angry I wanted to tear her apart, but all I could do was hold on to the little hope that somehow I'd find a way to fight back. The worst part was that I was starting to see how cold she really was. The Jessica I loved, the one I married, was gone, replaced by someone who was selfish, manipulative, and willing to destroy everything we built for her own gain. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I didn't see what she was really like. I thought she was my partner, my best friend. Turns out she was just a stranger hiding behind a mask of lies. Now I was left trying to piece everything together, trying to figure out how to save what's left of my life. I knew I had to be smart, had to play the game she was forcing me into. I started gathering evidence, talking to a different lawyer, trying to understand my rights. But deep down, I felt defeated. I'd lost so much trust, so much stability. And every day I woke up, I wondered how much more she could take away before there was nothing left of the life I once knew. The more I dug into the mess Jessica left behind, the more I realized how deep her deception went. She had been planning this for a while, I think. The forged signatures, the transfer of our savings, all of it was calculated. I found evidence that she'd been meeting with her lawyer behind my back, discussing how to get full custody and keep the house, without me even knowing. She kept lying, spinning stories about how she was just trying to protect the family, but I knew better. She was trying to cut me out completely, and honestly, I felt like I was fighting a losing battle. One day, I caught her in a lie that made my blood boil. I had gone to the house to pick up some things, hoping to have a calm talk about the kids, but I saw her sneaking around, acting nervous. When I questioned her, she snapped back with that bitchy attitude, saying I was just paranoid. That's when I found her hiding her phone, trying to delete messages with Mike. I grabbed her arm, demanding she give it to me. Her eyes flashed with anger and defiance. She told me I was overreacting, that I was paranoid because I didn't trust her. But I knew better. I knew she had been lying to me for months, and now I had proof. The moment I saw her try to hide her phone, I felt the full weight of her betrayal. It wasn't just about the affair anymore. It was about how she'd been actively lying, stealing, and manipulating to get what she wanted. She had no remorse, just that same bitchy smirk, like she thought she was untouchable. I couldn't believe how cold she'd become. She was willing to ruin our marriage, our family, all for some cheap sex and greed. I told her I wanted a divorce, that I was done with her lies and manipulation. She scoffed, told me I was making a mistake, that I'd regret throwing everything away. But I knew I couldn't stay, not after everything I'd seen. I felt like I was waking up from a nightmare, realizing the woman I loved was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. I told her I was going to fight for my rights, for the house, for the kids. But I also knew I had a long, hard road ahead of me. Jessica had all the cards, and she was playing them ruthlessly. In the meantime, I started documenting everything, taking screenshots of messages, copying bank statements, recording her suspicious behavior. I wanted to make sure I had enough evidence to fight her in court. I was furious that she was trying to strip me of my rights, trying to turn the kids against me, all while pretending to be the innocent victim. I felt like I was in a war I couldn't win with her lying and scheming behind my back. Honestly, I'd never felt so betrayed in my life. I thought I knew her, thought we had a future. But now I was starting to see her for who she really was, someone willing to destroy everything we had just for her own selfish gain. And I didn't know if I'd ever be able to trust again. All I could do was prepare for the fight, stay strong for the kids, and hope that somehow I'd find a way to come out of this still standing. The legal fight was draining, both emotionally and financially. Jessica's lawyer kept pushing for full custody, painting me as an unfit father, trying to use every mistake I made against me. Meanwhile, she was out there, spinning stories about how I was abusive, unstable, and incapable of caring for our kids. It was infuriating because I knew the truth. She was the one who lied, cheated, and stole from us. I felt like I was fighting against a well-oiled machine, constantly trying to prove my innocence while she manipulated the system to her advantage. Every time I visited the house, I saw how she had turned it into her own little fortress. She was living there like she owned the place, claiming I had no rights because of the forged documents. The lawyer told me she was planning to file for full custody and full control of the house, leaving me with nothing. That's when I realized how much she was willing to destroy to get what she wanted. It was her game, and I was just a pawn in it. I felt the rage building inside me, knowing she had lied and betrayed me at every turn. I also discovered that she'd been secretly talking to her lawyer about how to cut me out completely. She wanted to make it look like I was an unfit parent just to get full custody and keep the house. I couldn't believe how ruthless she was being. She didn't care about the truth or the kids, only about herself. I started to see that her bitchy attitude was just a mask for her greed and selfishness. She'd pretend to be the caring wife and mother, but behind the scenes she was scheming and lying like a pro. The hardest part was feeling helpless. I was trying to stay strong for the kids, but I was also scared. Scared of losing everything: my home, my money, my relationship with my children. The more I learned, the more I realized how deep her deception went. She had forged my signature, drained our savings, and was now trying to take everything away from me. I kept asking myself how I could have missed all the signs, how I'd been so blind to her true nature. It was like waking up to a nightmare, but I couldn't wake up. I had to face facts. Jessica was not the woman I thought she was. I started making plans. I hired a private investigator to gather more evidence of her lies and manipulations. I also reached out to my own lawyer, trying to find every loophole, every legal angle to fight her. But I knew this wouldn't be easy. She had money, she had the system on her side, and she was willing to do whatever it took to win. I felt like I was fighting a losing battle, but I couldn't give up, not when my kids' future was at stake. Every day was a struggle of hope and despair. Looking back, I realize how much I've changed. I used to be a trusting, naive guy who believed in the good in people. Now, I see how ruthless some people can be, how far they'll go for greed and selfishness. Jessica's betrayal has left scars I don't know if I'll ever fully heal. But I also learned something: I have to be relentless. I have to stand my ground, fight for what's right, and protect my kids from her manipulations. That's what keeps me going now, knowing I can't let her destroy everything we built. I just hope that in the end, truth and justice will prevail, even if it's a long, hard road to get there. In the end, everything I thought I knew about my life, my marriage, and my future was turned upside down. Jessica's lies, her betrayal, her greed, they all revealed a side of her I never imagined existed. I never wanted it to come to this, but I had no choice but to fight for what was left. The court hearings were brutal. Jessica played the victim, crying fake tears, claiming I was the one who caused all the problems. Her lawyer argued that I was unstable, that I had no right to the house or the kids. Meanwhile, I had mountains of evidence: her forged signatures, the bank transfers, her secret meetings with her lawyer. All of it painted a very different picture. It took months, but I finally managed to get a fair hearing. The judge looked at the evidence, listened to the testimonies, and saw through Jessica's manipulations. I was awarded primary custody of the kids with supervised visits for her. The house was awarded to me, and her plans to take everything away from me were thwarted. It wasn't perfect, nothing ever is, but it was enough to give me a fighting chance. I felt a strange mix of relief and exhaustion. After all the pain and betrayal, I finally had some semblance of justice. Jessica's response was bitter. She tried to appeal, but her lies and manipulations didn't hold up in court. She was furious, throwing tantrums, calling me every name in the book. But I didn't care anymore. The truth had come out, and I'd fought with everything I had. My trust in her was gone, completely shattered, and I knew that trying to save what was broken was pointless. The only thing I could do now was focus on rebuilding my life and protecting my children from the chaos she created. Looking back, I realize how much this experience has changed me. I used to believe that honesty and trust were the foundations of a marriage. Now I see that some people are just selfish and manipulative, willing to destroy everything for their own gain. I learned to be more cautious, more aware of the signs of deception, and most importantly, to stand up for myself. I don't regret fighting for what's right, even if it meant losing the woman I loved. It was a painful lesson, but one I had to learn. So here's my advice: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the small signs of betrayal, no matter how much you want to believe in the best. Document everything. Keep your eyes open and don't let anyone manipulate you into thinking you're overreacting. When the truth finally comes out, it's better to be prepared then. And above all, remember that you're not alone. If you're in a similar situation, fight for your rights, for your kids, and for your dignity. Because no matter how dark things seem, the truth will come out, and eventually, justice will catch up.